Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a necessary, really rigorous look at one of the most frustrating and, well, extensively investigated cold cases in Massachusetts history.
That's right. The 2000 disappearance and murder of 16-year-old Molly Bish.
In Warren, Massachusetts.
Yeah. And this is really a deep dive into, the limits of investigation, the science, and these complex crime patterns you see in certain regions.
The search for Molly. Our sources confirm it was the single most extensive, most expensive missing person effort the state had ever undertaken.
It really was. But our mission today, for you listening, is more than just recounting the tragedy. We want to synthesize the crucial evidence, which is often conflicting, frankly.
The timeline, the few physical clues they had.
Exactly. And that long, shifting list of persons of interest. We want to help you understand the real challenge investigators have faced, for over 2 decades now.
And Molly herself, she was just a typical high school kid, right? Spending her summer working as a lifeguard.
At Commons Pond, in her hometown of Warren, yeah.
But to really grasp what happened on June 27th, 2000, you have to understand the danger wasn't sudden. It was, well, it seems like it was already there, lurking.
Staking out the location almost.
It appears so. We really need to start with those critical 48 hours before she was taken. The story, it really begins June 26th, the day before Molly vanished.
With a sighting that's now just infamous in this case.
It is. It involves Molly's mother, Molly Bish.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Molly drops Molly off for her lifeguard shift.
And she sees him, a suspicious man.
Describe him.
She described him as having a mustache, sitting alone in a white car, parked right there in the lot near the lifeguard post.
Did she feel immediate danger? Or just unease?
More unease, it seems. Not like an immediate threat, but he was just loitering, conspicuous enough that she mentioned it. It's one of those subtle things that, looking back, just screams danger.
So fast forward to the next morning, June 27th. Magi drops Molly off again.
Right. And according to Magi's account, that morning, the white car and the man, gone. So, a moment of relief, maybe? It felt safe.
Perhaps. But the sources suggest the threat was still incredibly close. Just maybe better hidden that day.
How so?
Well, this is where the timeline gets really tight, and you need to kind of picture the geography. Even though Magi didn't see the man, another witness reported seeing someone matching that description.
When? Where?
Right there in the parking lot, just minutes before Molly actually arrived for her shift.
Minutes. Wow.
Yeah. And then there's another piece. A local worker saw a similar white car.
Where was this one?
Parked at a cemetery, which sounds random, but
There's a connection.
there is a path. A discrete path connected that cemetery directly to Commons Pond.
Okay, so that suggests planning, not random impulse.
It really does, doesn't it? Moving from direct surveillance one day to a potential getaway spot the next, right she arrived.
And it points to someone familiar with the area. Warren, the pond, these little paths.
Exactly. Someone local, or at least someone who knew the layout well.
Magi was the last known person to see Molly alive. And then just a few hours later, the police call.
Yeah. The call every parent dreads. They told the Bish family the lifeguard post was empty. Unmanned all day.
But Molly's things were still there.
Her personal effects, yes. Her shorts, sneakers, her backpack, all left at the stand. But no Molly.
Abduction. That had to be the immediate thought.
Absolutely. And that's what triggered that massive search effort you mentioned earlier.
Right. The most extensive and expensive one. Years of searching.
Yeah.
Immense resources poured in.
State, local, everyone was involved. But finding actual physical evidence, that took time. A lot of time.
2 years, wasn't it, before the first real clue surfaced?
That's right. That lack of immediate evidence just made everything harder. The first break didn't come until the fall of 2002.
What was it?
A hunter, out in the woods on Whiskey Hill in Palmer, Massachusetts. He found a blue swimsuit.
Palmer. That's right next to Warren, geographically.
Just a few miles southeast, yeah. So that discovery shifted the focus of the ground search to that specific area.
And that led to...
It triggered a really intensive search of those woods. And then, 7 months later, June 9th, 2003, almost exactly 3 years after she disappeared, they found Molly's remains.
In Hampton County.
Yes. Still relatively close.
How close were we talking?
About 5 miles. Just 5 miles from the Bish family home.
So the abduction site, the pond, the disposal site in Palmer, and the family home, all within this tight radius.
Precisely. It strongly suggests the killer was comfortable, familiar within that specific zone.
And the cause of death.
Because of the decomposition over 3 years, they couldn't determine it definitively. But the circumstances. Abduction, hidden remains, investigators concluded she was murdered.
With such sparse physical evidence directly from the remains, the investigation had to pivot, right?
It absolutely had to. They realized this wasn't going to be solved easily by forensics alone. It became about behavior, patterns, local knowledge.
And that long list of persons of interest, it shifted from pure science to profiling, essentially.
That's a good way to put it. That strategic pivot is key to understanding the next 2 decades of this investigation.
There were some early leads that fizzled out, like that Connecticut guy in 2005.
Yeah, brief focus there, linked to an attempted kidnapping elsewhere, but it didn't pan out. The investigation really gained traction when they started focusing on suspects with strong ties to that specific central Massachusetts area.
Okay, so let's get into the first major profile. Rodney Stanger. He became a focus around 2009.
Right. Stanger seemed to fit based on, well, geography and observation.
What were the connections?
He had deep local roots, lived in Southbridge, which is very near Warren, for over 20 years.
Okay.
But then he moved to Florida just 1 year after Molly's murder.
The timing is interesting.
Very. And critically, he had access to a white car matching Molly Bish's description. And he himself matched her visual description of the mustached man.
The vehicle, the look, the timing of the move. What about the locations?
That's where it gets even more compelling. Sources say Stanger fished at Cummins Pond, Molly's workplace. And perhaps most significantly, he hunted in the woods on Whiskey Hill, the exact area where Molly's body was eventually found. He knew that terrain intimately.
Wow. Okay, so Stanger looks like a very strong fit. Local knowledge means opportunity, matches the description. Why wasn't he charged? Was it lack of direct DNA?
That's always the challenge, isn't it? Proving that direct link beyond circumstantial evidence. But here's where it gets even more complex. Investigating Stanger brought another major local cold case into the picture.
Don't tell me. Holly Piranen.
Exactly. The 1993 murder of 10-year-old Holly Piranen. Stanger was questioned in connection with her case, too.
And the tragic irony there, Molly Bish had actually written a letter to Holly Piranen's parents back in '93.
Yes, a letter of hope and sympathy. And now, years later, a potential suspect in her own murder is possibly linked to the very case she grieved. It's profoundly sad.
It just underscores this sense of danger concentrated in that specific area, that corridor.
It really does. But despite the questioning, Stanger wasn't charged in either case. The investigation had to keep moving.
Which led them, in November 2011, to the second major suspect, Gerald Battistoni.
Right. Battistoni brought a different kind of profile to the table.
What was his background?
A known, dangerous offender. Criminal record going back to 1980. He'd served time for repeatedly raping a teenage girl in the early 90s. So a clear history of violence against young women.
Did he match the description or have local ties?
He resembled the composite sketch of the man in the pond. And, like Stanger, he was known to frequent the Hampton County area where Molly's remains were found.
So the investigation is now looking at profiles based on geography, like Stanger, and profiles based on violent history, like Battistoni.
Exactly. They're casting a wider net based on different potential motivators or characteristics. What's notable about the Battistoni phase, though, is how the Bish family got involved.
They pushed for more action, didn't they?
They really did. They worked with a private investigator and formally requested the state conduct advanced DNA testing on evidence they held.
And the state agreed.
Yes, and interestingly, the DNA work was actually outsourced to a specialized lab in Crixus. It shows the family's determination, pushing the boundaries when maybe state resources or tech were limited at the time.
There was a tragic personal element, too, once Battistoni was named publicly.
Yes, very sad. After newspapers linked him as a potential suspect in both the Bish and Perrin cases, Battistoni attempted suicide in prison.
Did he survive?
He did initially, but he died later in 2014, and the complexity just kept growing. In 2012, authorities named another man,
Another suspect.
David Puleo, but he was named specifically as a person of interest in the Holly Piranen case, not Molly Bish's. He had died back in 2003.
Okay, so this is getting complicated. Stanger, Battistoni, Puleo, linked across two major cold cases in the same region. What does this tell you as someone looking at this investigation?
It really highlights the core challenge in these central Massachusetts cold cases. Investigators weren't just dealing with one isolated crime. They were potentially looking at a web of interconnected violence.
So they have to rely on behavioral patterns, geography, criminal history, because the forensic link isn't obvious.
Precisely. They had multiple plausible suspects, Stanger, Battistoni, maybe Puleo in the related case, all high risk, all familiar with the area, but no smoking gun, forensically speaking.
Which brings us to the most recent publicly named person of interest, Francis Sumner, announced in 2021.
Sumner, yes. He represents sort of the latest effort to connect known dangerous individuals from that era to the crime.
What was his story?
He was also deceased, died in 2016, a registered sex offender with a long, disturbing record, convicted back in 1982 for aggravated rape and kidnapping, served time.
And the DA said new information linked him to Molly's case.
Yes, though they didn't disclose the specifics of that new information, but it was enough to name him publicly as a person of interest.
So even though Sumner is deceased, the investigation considers him relevant. The effort continues.
It does. And it seems largely fueled now by advances in forensic tech that just didn't exist back in 2000 or even 2010.
It's really striking, isn't it? Over 20 years, investigators keeping this case alive, constantly reevaluating old evidence with new methods.
The dedication is remarkable. It speaks volumes about the impact Molly's case had.
And beyond the investigation, Molly's legacy has had a tangible impact on child safety, thanks to her parents.
Absolutely. In 2004, Magi and John Bish founded the Molly Bish Center and Foundation.
In partnership with Anna Maria College, right?
Yes, and its focus is squarely on child abduction, awareness, prevention, education, using Molly's story to help protect other kids. It's an incredibly powerful example of advocacy born from tragedy.
Meanwhile, the official investigation is still very much active. We saw that in the 2023 update from the Worcester County DA.
Yeah, the DA basically reaffirmed their commitment. No arrests yet, but Francis Sumner remains a key person of interest, even though he's deceased.
And the emphasis now seems almost entirely on the science.
It really does. Leveraging modern forensics against decades-old evidence, things that were, science fiction back when Molly disappeared.
Is there a specific technology they're pinning hopes on?
Familial DNA. That seems to be the big focus.
Explain that a bit for listeners who might not know.
Sure. It's not just about finding an exact DNA match of the perpetrator. Familial DNA searching allows investigators to find potential relatives, a cousin, a nephew, in existing DNA databases.
Which can then lead them back to the actual perpetrator, even if that person isn't in the database themselves.
Exactly. It's become a game changer for cracking cold cases like this one. The DA specifically mentioned supporting legislative changes to make using familial searching easier, ethically and legally.
Because it could provide that breakthrough link, connecting maybe Stanger or Battistoni or Sumner directly to the crime scene evidence, even if it's degraded.
That's the hope. That science can finally provide the definitive answer that traditional investigation couldn't quite reach. For now, though, they still rely on the anonymous tip line too. Always hoping for that one last piece of crucial information.
So let's synthesize this for you, the listener. We've walked through a case that launched the biggest search in Massachusetts history.
Followed by decades of meticulous investigation, circling at least 3 distinct, dangerous individuals, all tied to this specific area. And yet, Molly's murder remains officially unsolved.
We're left with this incredible complexity trying to link these suspects to a crime where the initial physical evidence was so minimal.
Which really raises a final provocative thought for you to consider. We see this intense reliance now on cutting-edge techniques like familial DNA to resolve cases like Molly Bish's, and the related Holly Perinin case, decades old, regionally tangled.
So the question is,
what impact do you think evolving forensic policy, the laws and ethics around using tools like familial searching will ultimately have? How much can it really help clear these cold case files, especially when you're dealing with this potential web of interconnected crimes in one region? The challenge isn't just finding a killer, it's potentially untangling multiple threads that share so many unsettling similarities, relying on tech that didn't even exist when the crimes occurred. That's something to really think about.